Hey, Warrior Saints, Father Chris here, and welcome to our Crucifixional live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people in with us. It is time to get some. We are talking this week about how real men love Jesus. And in a world where they kind of make fun of Jesus and make fun of believers, it's time for us to get strong and man up to become warrior saints. Now remember, to be a real man, not a male, but a man, is to be a warrior saint. A warrior saint is someone who is crucifixional in his life, who is a king, a knight, a mentor, and a lover. Today we're going to talk about how kings come to Jesus. Now, if you think about kings in the movies and in all the old ancient tales and stories, you think of a man who has a crown and a fancy cape and sits on a big throne and rules his people. And, very often a king, as portrayed in the movies, is a corrupt individual who is focused on self, who is very often, like a womanizer, drinking too much ale or wine, whatever it may be, sending his knights out to fight, chopping off heads or chopping off hands, ruling unjustly. This is really not what a king who is a warrior saint is all about. Kingship should be simply about selflessness and providing for his community. There's a great show I watch on Amazon Prime. Amazon Video, whatever it is, the Amazon videos. It's called Vikings, and it's the story about Ragnar Lothbrok, who is in Scandinavia, and all the exploits of his adventures. And at some point, he goes from being Ragnar to being Earl Ragnar to becoming King Ragnar. And there's a powerful scene where he's talking to a slave girl, and she says some things to him that really put him in check, and he responds with the following statement. He says, "Well, kings are like slaves. They're only here to serve the well-being of other people." And I thought, wow, for a pagan Viking, that mentality to recognize that to be a king is not about getting yours. To be a king is to be crucifixional, to live a Christ-like life. I'm like, he nailed it. He just nailed it. By the way, Amazon. If you haven't seen Vikings, it's fabulous. It's gory, so keep that in mind, but it's awesome. And he unloaded for me in that moment. That's what it means to be a king. Is to be selfless, to sacrifice self for the well-being of others. If you are going to be a real man, that means you got to be a king. And a king who comes to Christ is not one who's seeking to get his own. He is one who, if he comes to Christ, is willing or desiring or submitting himself to build one another. That's the message. Now that may be hard to do because, if you think about our biology, we're self-preservative. The biology of a human being wants to take care of self, right? If you think about ego, it's about, yeah, baby, get yours. If you want to think about the world and the narrative that the world says, you do you. That's all of the things are pointing us towards self-fulfillment and selfishness. But Christ is calling us to be selfless. And that's hard to do because you're fighting all the rest of that biology and the world's narrative. But you don't have to do that alone because I know it's hard. I know it's confusing and sometimes we don't know which way to turn. Here's where you turn. warriorsaints.org. At warriorsaints.org, there's a 3-step plan we have for you about becoming a warrior saint. And the first step being a king, to be one who is selfless in leading and serving others. All you need to do right now today is subscribe. Step 1, subscribe to the way of the warrior saint. Get it! And we are going to teach you and guide you to the best of our ability from God himself how we live as a king. And in doing so, you will find yourself not only serving other people, but finding that fulfillment in your own heart and in your own mind, that which you're craving anyways, as you become a warrior saint, a king who comes to Christ. Love you. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about knights. Until then, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.